Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Firebelly Social Show special webinar on the beverage industry outlook for the next 12 months. I'm Duncan, founder of Firebelly Marketing. I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm really astounded at the guest panel that we have here. This is truly amazing. Some great guys. And I'll let everyone introduce themselves, but just a little bit of an intro. The beverage industry is constantly evolving. And as we make our way through this year, we're already seeing major shifts in consumer behavior, innovation, market dynamics, from the continued rise of functional beverages, premiumization, supply chain challenges, NA dominating, and the power of LinkedIn for founders. There's so much ground to cover. I'm imagining, as I said in the pre-show, that this is going to come unhinged. Enjoy the conversation. Imagine we're having drinks together. A big thank you to our sponsor, Firebelly Marketing, where we help mission-driven food and beverage brands build deeper connections through social media marketing. If you want to know more, go to firebellymarketing.com. And with no further ado, welcome to our esteemed panel, Jay Williams, founder of Freebird, Eric Martindale, founder Elite Commerce Group, Samuel Anderson, co-founder of BevAssets, and Jeff Litcofsky, founder of Brandartica. And so guys, let's just start out by all of you just giving a little bit, a couple sentences about yourself. You could tell us your favorite sandwich, or you could say what you do. It's totally up to you. Let's start with Jeff.
So I'm Jeff Litcofsky, COO and partner at Brandartica. We're a full-service brand identity and web development agency based in New Hampshire. We do our best work for brands who desire and have the courage to really stand out. My favorite sandwich is bologna and cheese.
Awesome. Jay, why don't you go next?
Sure thing. First of all, Duncan, thank you so much for having me. I feel like I walked into a room that I'm not supposed to be in. So I'm very thankful to be here with all these great folks. And I'm Jay Williams, founder of Freebird from Atlanta, Georgia. I've spent most of my career in real estate development and somehow wandered into the beverage world about a year ago and recently launched Freebird and super excited about it.
While simultaneously selling Finish Hydration, Finish Water.
That's correct. I did.
Right. Okay, let's have the Bev Man go next, none other than Samuel Anderson himself.
That's funny. Well, first of all, great product placement, Jay, on the Freebird. You nailed it again. So I'm going to just try to follow your lead on my product placement. But I'm Sam Anderson, known in circles as Beverage Man Sam. I see that Fred Fox is out there, so you should probably ask Fred for some things. Southern Glazed Wine and Spirits VP, ran California. So thanks, Fred, for joining us today. BevAssets is an agency that we actually work with. We help brands find distributors and customers, and we also have partners. Actually, in Firebelly Marketing is one of our partners, and we actually help connect those brands to those partnerships because we help find distribution and customers. But there's a lot more that goes into a route to market, as everyone on this team knows, that we'll talk about today. But I'm excited to be here. I'm deeply humbled to be with these experts, and especially to be with Jay Williams. I got to hug him, by the way, at BevNet a few weeks ago, and it was the most powerful thing I've ever experienced. And I had pancakes one Sunday, virtual pancakes with Eric Martindale. He was literally cooking them for his kids. I'm like, "Do you got to go?" He goes, "No, man, I got this covered." So these are great friends here. So great to be here.
That's a good segue, Sam, to the kindest man in e-commerce, Eric Martindale.
Hey guys, I'm Eric Martindale. I am part-time. I'm the founder of Elite Commerce Group, full-time personal assistant to Jay Williams. So part-time Elite Commerce Group, we are an Amazon and retail media agency. And I will say, Sam and Jay, I heard that was a really, really long hug. That's the rumor.
See, I told you it was going to get wild. Eric, let's start with you. You are fast becoming the go-to guy for retail commerce. And there's a lot of people that don't even know what retail commerce is. Can you give us a quick recap? What is retail commerce and what's the opportunity for brands?
Yeah, so retail media would be the most common term. That is it is the act of driving velocity in store by targeting a digital shopper. So we're targeting somebody who's shopping online for retail fulfillment. So a good example would be Instacart, where somebody pulls up instacart.com, they type in an order, they hit submit, and then a driver goes to a retail store and pulls the order off of the store shelf.
So it's a major change from the traditional playbook.
It is. So normally you would look at a platform like that, like an Amazon or a Walmart.com as a channel. These are, if you look at Instacart or Kroger 8451 or Target Roundel, you could use those as a channel, but they're probably more effectively used as a form of trade spend. In some cases, both.
Fascinating. Jay, I think the thing that people are amazed at is all the happening around the functional beverage boom. What are you seeing? What were the signals that you saw that told you the timing was right to launch Freebird? And what a launch, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Duncan. Yeah, you know what, we launched, obviously there's a lot of big players in the water category. And there's a ton of new entrants as well, across a lot of different, types of water. And it seems like there's a new version of something every week coming out. But we looked at the larger, broader category as being, although a little dangerous, with the most upside. In particular, I think it's no coincidence that, Liquid Death is dominating the category of sort of brand-centric beverages where we've entered the market. And we feel like that there is a lot of room there for some other entrants to come into play that maybe like Liquid Death, but aren't necessarily a Liquid Death type of consumer. So we're hoping to take advantage of the additional people out there that might want a brand that looks a little different. But from the standpoint of the whole category, it's very, very active. And I totally appreciate all those people going for specific niches within the category. But I also know that by doing that, you're narrowing your audience considerably, and you need to win that category or play very, very well in it to make a dent. So we felt comfortable in the larger category just because of the larger opportunity.
Thank you, Jay. And I'm gonna go to Jeff next. Jeff, what are you seeing? I mean, you live and die with positioning. I guess I got a double-headed question for you. What are you seeing in the changing importance, or even more value of importance and positioning? And the second question is, what's happening in NA?
In terms of the whole space with non-alcoholic, about earlier last year, I saw something in my feed that really sparked a lot of interest to me, and it was a sparkling wine brand that came out with a bottle of non-alcoholic wine for $119 a bottle, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" Right? This is big, and the reason why I thought it was big is because there are already people looking how can they fill the gaps, right? So Athletic is kind of leading the charge here, but there's really three main factors, I think, for NA products. The first one is there's a big change in consumer preferences and wellness. I think consumers are embracing this healthier lifestyle. They want the experience without the alcohol. Again, like Liquid Death is a good example of that, right? You're at a party and you want to hold a can that's doesn't look like Dasani, let's say. But also, this is all driven by millennials and Gen Z mainly, because they're looking at it, in that sober, curious type of lens. There's also advancements in production and quality of non-alcoholic. I mean, gone are the days of, old duels and, and free for the wines. There's so much more better quality out there. And I think it's these new technologies, significantly improve like taste and mouthfeel and things like that were missing before. And I do think we're going to see a lot more tech innovation in that area. And then lastly, brand positioning. So, selling these products, they have to have compelling stories, right? They have to offer elegant packaging. They have to be placed in restaurants, right, on the menu, in the non-alcoholic area of the menu instead of soft drinks. They're starting to say non-alcoholic options instead, which is great. So, you can imagine a scenario even with some of these premium non-alcoholic options, like the wine that I mentioned. There's a scenario of somebody of wealth, they're having a party on their yacht and they want to have premium options for everybody, even those that are sober. And this is where the excitement, I think, is that, there's going to be new products coming out all the time in this space because there's so many unfilled gaps. I just saw a Japanese sake for $26 a bottle, non-alcoholic. I think there's just so much opportunity in that space.
And it's interesting, Vanessa Royal from Tilden made a really insightful remark to me about how there is an expectation with NA consumers that a drink has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Unlike the, Shirley Temples of the world that just taste like shit. It's like
right.
They're expecting nuance, they're expecting subtlety, they're expecting sophistication. And man, the prices are high, and that's fine, right?
The prices are high, and it's fine. And you're even seeing this in the beer category. They're getting way more sophisticated. The tasting notes are complex. They're not all just light beers.
Wonderful. Sam, let's come to you. And first of all, thanks for coming today, Sam. You are the Bev Man, and I have taken your advice to heart, and I'm telling people, just pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone, right? They don't always answer, Sam, but just pick up the phone. What are you seeing, my man, with supply chain? And congratulations on your launch. What are you seeing with your clients, with your go-to-market strategies? What are you seeing in general?
So a couple of things before I answer that question. First of all, Jeff, you and I need to talk. So this is a brand called Even right here. So Even's being launched here in Minnesota. They actually be the Valspar and the PGA. He doesn't want to be known as a golf brand, but his strategy is double beer, by the way. So beer's at $12.99. This is $24.99 for a 4-pack, and people are paying for it. The other thing is on those menus, and ties into the route to market. Sorry, I'm live, raw, and real, Duncan. But on the menus is you go to a restaurant, you go to a stadium today, you can't find products like this. They're like, yeah, what's your NA option? A water and a Coke. So your point of separating those and creating a section for those products is really important, because then you have products like Amethyst. Yep, I'm doing advertising. Eric will appreciate this, by the way, because Eric does this with his brands all the time. But this is another product that's an option out there for you to go to. So I love NA. So Jeff, you and I perhaps talk. From a supply chain standpoint, I know I have my friend Fred Fox out there, but Fred always says, I don't want to present a brand unless they have a distributor, right? So he struggles with that all the time. So from a route to market, a brand needs to find a wholesaler, especially in a 3-tier system. And a lot of these brands I just named, they're going through beer wholesalers, wine and spirit wholesalers. But we got to give brands a better path. So what we learned at WSWA just recently, we were talking to a lot of wholesalers there. And every wholesaler we talked to looked at us like we were vampires. I don't want another brand. I don't want to put things back in inventory. So he said, what if we brought you a brand with a plan? Are you interested? And by the way, every one of you that sits on this panel today, you help us because we have partnerships with people that help us build a plan, right? So we no longer go to market the traditional way. We have over 42 pass-throughs across North America. We have partnerships with small, medium, and large wholesalers, e-commerce, DTC, and this is something I'm sure Eric can talk about more extensively than I can. But the point is there's not one way to go to market. You could start with DTC, build your business up, or you can start with small wholesalers and build your business up that way. So we're just trying to find resources for our brands, and it's definitely a changing landscape. There's consolidation obviously happening. There's brands that are moving around. Just a few weeks ago, sorry to the RDC folks, but they moved Tito's away from Reyes in California from RDC to Reyes in California. That was a significant move. So there's a lot of blurring too, because in our business, it used to be you're a beer wholesaler, you're a wine and spirits wholesaler. Now they're all representing multiple brands. And it's not just beer, wine, and spirits. It's NA brands, it's cannabis brands, it's everything in between.
It's really good points, Samuel. I'll open up the conversation to the panel in general, so it's not panelist specific questions. But a couple of people have mentioned liquid death. Let's get into the liquid death conversation. We're seeing conversations about this all the time in the media. We just seen their play out in the UK. Like, where is liquid death going?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like liquid death, I mean, we talk about this. I mean, we're an agency, so this is a marketing agency driven product. I mean, it literally is water in a can. And obviously they have more variations now, but the fact is that they have moved this whole brand into a community experience, right? It's about the experience is what you're buying into. It's about the cool factor of having the can in your hand at a party. It's an amazing thing that they've created, right? Because sure, you look at it and you're like, well, how far can they take this? Well, they've taken it pretty far. And now now that they're starting to do other variations of the product, they have the foothold. They have repeat customers to try new flavored versions and different options now that they didn't have before when they started. It's an amazing case study for marketing a brand. And I know Jay can talk to this too, because it's aspirational for a lot of other brands, I think, even in other categories, because what they've done is pretty amazing.
I don't know, Jeff, I'm not seeing a lot of people on LinkedIn posting pictures of liquid death, but I see a lot of people on LinkedIn posting pictures of Freebird.
Yes, that's true. And I'm one of those people.
Jay, what are your thoughts on this?
So yeah, I'm first of all, I'm so grateful for all the support from folks that are on this panel, as well as others that have gotten behind our brand. It's beyond anything I could have imagined. So from that perspective, I am incredibly grateful. As it relates to what Liquid Death has done, there's no denying that they have created this category. And, I talk all the time about the fact that for the first several years, they barely ever even mentioned the product. It was always about brand. Now that they've got so many products, they have to talk about the products more because they have so many. But they have done such a great job of building a brand that, as Jeff mentioned, people are just comfortable having something in their hand, especially if they're at an event that doesn't look like a Dasani or a regular water brand. They want it to look like a beer or look kind of cool. The good news is that for all the people out there that enjoy that experience, there are even more people out there that would love to have that experience, but aren't necessarily Liquid Death people. And I think that's where Freebird has an opportunity. And so we're super excited about that. We think that there's a Americana type of spirit that's alive and well in the country that people seem to gravitate towards. And, our brand is meant to be nostalgic, meant to celebrate the everyday hero, the blue collar, hardworking folks of the country. And our branding and our cans have that look to them as well. So I think that I'm pleased with everything that Liquid Death has done, because they've effectively created a path for us to follow behind them. And, they're the Coke of the category at this point in time. And last I checked, Pepsi, when they came in number 2, didn't do so bad. So although I'm, in life, I like to be number 1, but right now I'd take number 2, and then we'll we'll take care of business after that.
We got some celebrity guests that have joined today. Joshua Shares is in the house and has a question. How much of NA is a response to the cannabis smoking and sober movement versus the hydration play of water? Anybody want to take that question on the panel? Eric, you're nodding. It's a great question. Welcome, Josh.
Yeah, that was an amazing question, and I think it's the intersection of both things. So you have the sober movement, and then you also have there's tons of digital search for not just cannabis. It's CBD, it's THC, it's mushroom, adaptogenic. People are just typing those things right into search just on their own: CBD, mushrooms, THC. So there's a ton of enthusiasm around those things. And at the same time, like I said, there's an intersection here because you have a sober movement. So I think a lot of this stuff it's the right place, right time for some of these functional beverages for both reasons.
I mean, it's a tough spot, right, for a founder today. I mean, I know there's a rap song in there, but it's a tough spot because you got inflation, you got intensified competition, you got innovation, you got supply chain pressure. So as a founder, that's got to be a really tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I would say that, you don't enter this business scared, because if you do, you're not going to survive. So you need to have a game plan that allows you some longevity, or else, it's going to be a short journey. So, but I hear you, there's a lot of obstacles out there for sure.
I know Eric Martindale and I were talking to Peter Gilansis, and he said, in his very cerebral, matter-of-fact way, it's wonderful when you see, brands announcing their arrival into a new retail location or group of stores. He said, but the fact is someone else lost their spot to get so that these guys could get that spot. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of celebration, but every time there's an unknown story of someone's dreams getting crashed. And a nice comment from Robert. Robert, welcome. Real estate development is a good place to come from. Hopelessness everywhere. You just find them.
I heard on a podcast that I had with a guy named Dave Moore. He said the work begins after the placement, right? So, and Eric and I spent I spent a Saturday with Eric as well. So we spend weekends together, Eric. It seems to be a trend. But I believe, Eric, what you do is you actually help those shelves perform. You actually can drive like DoorDash, Uber, to those stores to actually create the pull. We always talk about push versus pull. So the job is never done once you get distribution. It actually is just beginning.
Yeah, we can do some of it. We can't do all of it. So we operate at the bottom of the funnel, and anybody who has a brand knows that stores, whether or not they communicate it to you, they operate in turns per SKU per door per week. If they want 4, they need 4, and really it goes beyond that. It's monetizing the real estate. It's an amount of money per square inch on that shelf, and we'll have brands come in and say, hey, we're supposed to be at 4 turns per SKU per door per week, and we're at 1. Can you help? And the answer is no. I mean, we can help, but we can't get the rest of the way. So we can do part of it, but there's a big piece in awareness that comes through social marketing. The other pieces like trade spend, demos, things like that. But that's what we do. But we end up at the bottom of the funnel. So if the rest of the funnel isn't there, it doesn't work.
Well, we always say to the suppliers that we work with is you can do liquid to lips, you can do the tastings, but you can place it on the shelf. But if they don't know what that brand is before they come in the store, it's somewhat problematic, right? So Duncan, you probably do a little bit of that as well to create that brand awareness, correct, over at Firebelly Marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeff and I kind of have the same point of view on this. There's a lot of people that say, reach is a bullshit metric, or engagement is a bullshit metric, or sentiment doesn't matter. Just show me the numbers. I'd like to show you the numbers. And I'm saying, hey, we can show you the numbers for how many people you're reaching. Like followers just doesn't matter. It's like, how many people are you reaching? Do people know your name? And are they involved with you emotionally? I mean, and I saw someone fairly well connected in the agency world post a picture of a Snickers next to a very premium protein bar and said that the common problem that these brands are facing is hunger. That's the real problem. I'm saying bullshit. It's not. It's like the person that's buying the premium protein bar is never going to consider a Snickers. And you're underestimating the audience. Maybe the audience isn't big enough, but yeah, I think that's an underestimation. I know, Robert. We'll open up the show a little bit. Robert, you had some comments that you wanted to make, and please let us know what they are.
I too come from real estate development, Jay.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I got launched into this food business, I guess, about 12 years ago through some very interesting channels. Throw in the confusion of the Canadian-US border and having to deal with the unrelenting demand of the Toronto market, and combined with my ability just to get things done. So I know a little about a lot, and this is only from my observations. Okay, Jay?
Yeah.
The sparkling water industry has been sort of hanging out there forever. Sorry, Liquid Death. You did a Blair Witch Project, vampire Netflix explosion. You did a Blair Witch Project movie in the forest. I think Cesaro is a great marketer, and he did a great job. But I don't know. It feels so easy to hit this line drive up the middle. Perrier water. Okay. So the reason that I know a little about a lot and too much sometimes is I just do what they tell me, which means I'm DNA'd with what the market demands, right? Okay. So I'm the idiot that brought in 20 trucks of La Croix. Everybody okay with that? You guys like calling it LaCroix? Okay. So I brought in La Croix. My son and I did this. We looked at each other. Why? And then a minute later, you want another sip? Yeah, me too. What the hell? So I then start studying the grocery stores and the planograms and everything. Okay. San Benedito, whatever the other one is. There's another small brand that out of Europe that has grocery shelf space everywhere that also has a bit of a sparkling water position. And sparkling water has been around since Evian and Vittel and all of those French. Would you like still sparkling or tap? Which we've been hearing at restaurants since there. So now, Liquid Death. Will Nitz, one of the best things I've seen on LinkedIn. Taboo arbitrage. Liquid Death nailed it. Okay. So now, hey, Liquid Death, how you doing? I need 10 trucks for the wholesale market in Toronto. No, we don't need bilingual packaging. You guys get screwed over by all these Canadian guys telling you to do a bilingual packaging run to get into Whole Foods. Not the idea. I bring in truckloads into the wholesale market of Toronto. There's 10 million people from Buffalo to Toronto. So it's a pretty good place to test it out. So over these last few years, I have been eyeballing the Bubbly launch, the AHA launch. I know the AHA is a shitstorm. They're going to flop. It's okay, though. Coke can handle flops. Bubbly, though, Bubbly taught everybody a lesson, especially La Croix. So all these brands like Poppy Olipop, they got Simply coming in now. It's just going to be a compression of the available market. That's my opinion. Remember, I'm just a real estate guy that came into your industry over the last 10, 15 years. But I just I'll try to shut up now, but the Liquid Death thing, you could see me sort of laughing. Are we in like a confidential? I don't know who you people are, but I'm in conversation with Liquid Death right now, and I'm biting my tongue. You guys went top down Whole Foods into Canada? I could have got you truckloads to the wholesale market, but they decided to go Whole Foods. They didn't want to return my call. Now, another distributor asked me to get a truck. My first question is, what Canadian label product do you need to get rid of? And now they're telling me they got a powder stick. What do I know about powder stick? Who brought in 40 trucks of G Fuel into Canada and their powder sticks? So I'm a student in that area as well. So before I shut up and turn my mute back on, Jay, I learned something from my buddies at Le Perry Foods when they taught me about Black Rifle. The 50% Republicans do not want to go into Starbucks. Black Rifle nailed it. So I want to pay homage to something because I'm a Canadian that impresses Europeans because I play cricket. And I know more about the directions in Detroit, where my darling in Detroit asks me for directions. I recently corrected Curtis of where Bradenton is. Okay. Sorry, Curtis, if you ever hear about this. He lives in Tampa, St. Pete. Anyway,
I grew up in Bradenton, by the way. That's my hometown. Good for you.
So I want you to know something. The Great Smoky Mountain Expressway is one of the biggest pleasures I've ever had in my drives down to Florida. I go off I-75 to go through your stomping grounds. That is what I think is your advantage. There's people that are there. There's people that know the place, Blue Ridge. And I got to say, I think I saw the best commercial in my life when John Denver's song was in the Rocket Mortgage commercial and they came back to the game and the whole stadium was singing Take Me Home Country Road. So homage to you on flaunting that and the whole eagle with the forest and the mountains. You know what I mean? You're not showing Rocky Mountains. You're showing Blue Ridge. You're showing Appalachian. And that's a special thing. So guys out in Washington State are not going to clue into that. So put your money where people identify with it. And I want to say one more thing to you, Sam. 10 times a day, I explain to people, you can't handle me. I get it. I was raised at shortstop. So when you're at a baseball game and you see the two middle infielders come out after the anthem, there you go. That's how I talk. Sam, you are the closest person I've seen in the first 5 minutes of hearing you that talks like you're throwing the ball. So homage to you. I will shut it up now.
Thank you. Good stuff, man. Well, Stone Mountain, I think that's where the water source comes from. I'm giving it up, Jay. I don't know if I'm right or not, but there it is, Stone Mountain.
That would be incorrect, but thank you.
Just try.
It's whatever. It's wherever you think it may be. That's fine.
Exactly, wherever you like it.
That's right.
You make your own experience out of it. That's
right. Hey, look, I'll pitch another one soon, Robert. Keep on going.
Oh, I think Duncan's on mute now.
My name is whatever you want it to be, Jeff. Okay. So let's transition to a part that I think a lot of people are excited about, which is LinkedIn for founders and just LinkedIn in general, I guess, in some ways. All of these gentlemen, including myself, use that word loosely, are very active on LinkedIn, and probably we would not have met each other if not for LinkedIn. So I think there's an endorsement right there for LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I was just on a show yesterday talking about how LinkedIn is definitely the premier community for professional connection and is a great place to build relationships. Jeff, why don't you start us off with your kind of thoughts on opportunities on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm kind of an OG LinkedIn person. When it first started, I joined, which is kind of wacky because I think back of what it used to be, and it used to be the professional network, and it was very, very stuffy, very corporate. The posts were almost like mini ads. There wasn't anything personal on there at all. Everybody was taking care of that stuff over on Facebook, right? And I think what's really happened is it's become more and more of a community, and where it wasn't that way in the first 10 years or whatever. It just wasn't. And the community is great because the community is not just like on a Facebook company page where you're trying to build a brand out. What you're doing is you're building your personal brand. And the personal brand is what's most important, I think, for a founder, is that ultimately, and I've talked to many other agency owners, and we all say the same thing, that people want to work with Jeff, right? They want to work with Peter, who's my partner at Brandartica. They want to work with us because because that's who they know. It's not about the company, right? When you're on this platform, and I think that's where it's so great is that you can be yourself, you can be authentic, and you can connect with so many people on a level that's a real network. It's real networking that's going on right now, and it's if you're not taking advantage of it, you're kind of missing out because, again, everybody likes to share the challenges that they face. They like to share the highs and the lows, and those that are really authentic will do all that stuff. And if you're just using it to put posts out every week about your new service and product, you're kind of missing the whole idea.
Thank you, Jeff. Let me ask Eric Martindale. It's kind of like, Sting. It just flows off your tongue. Sting, Eric Martindale. Eric, you are so consistent with your posting. You put some days it's a picture of a pizza. I think you've got like a great cadence, and some days it's a deep insight into retail media. How much time should someone expect to spend on this, and how much work is it?
And before you answer, can you talk about Chuck E. Cheese's? I was calling it Chunky Cheeses before,
Yeah,
so you gotta
that.
answer.
Y'all
You
want to
gotta
know?
answer that first.
You guys want to know? I'll spill the beans.
Yes, please.
No,
That's more important than
yes.
anything else.
It is true. I did get banned from Chuck E. Cheese. I ended up in a low-key argument. I behaved myself. I did not raise my voice. The manager is not going to be able to make that claim. And eventually, it was their mistake. They didn't want to clear it up. They said they could not clear it up. So I stood in the middle of a line and refused to move until they did clear it up. Turned out they could, and then they banned me. So there was no physical altercation in front of kids. I didn't raise my voice, but I did throw a low-key adult temper tantrum.
Hey, Eric,
and yes, that is real.
You have to measure progress in increments. It's a big improvement that Sam Anderson now understands that it's Chuck E. Cheese and not Chunky Cheese.
That's right.
Well, I got
Chunky
banned.
cheese is something totally different.
Well, I didn't realize I got banned from them because I was calling them the wrong name. So I'm no longer allowed there either.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
That's right.
Anyway, Eric,
it's to your benefit, Sam, that you're no longer allowed there. Believe me.
Eric, let's come back to the question of like the amount of time and work it takes.
All right, so I'm going to say, in a sense, 0. I'm going to use that as a baseline. I think to pivot off of Jeff's amazing comment, if you turn it into an ad, it doesn't work. It falls apart. And everybody here sees people that post. Sometimes they post 2-3 times a day and get no engagement, and that's because they do just that. They put up a post. They're probably putting some work into it, and that's it. The way I approach it, and I'm not saying this is the right way, it works for me, but the way I approach it is I do every single day. I have professional study at the beginning of my day, and I take something from that and I put it into a post. So none of that time is wasted. It is time for sure. If you want to know exactly how much time I read and put into making that post, it's probably on average about an hour a day. Sometimes it's much more. I've had posts I've put several hours into. Others I've had to bang out very quickly, but none of it is purely LinkedIn. It's all I've always read in the beginning of every day. So to me, there's very little extra time, and there's a genius in simplicity or being able to think and communicate clearly. I don't have that genius, but I learn when I'm forced to put something, maybe volumes or several articles into a single post and try to make a point concisely. That forces me to understand it at a deeper level. So I think if you build that into your professional life, the amount that you're taxed by LinkedIn is very little. I will say, I'm just going to say, throw out one other thing. That's posting, and posting is important. But back to that person that posts all the time and they get no engagement, I think you get as much branding from commenting as anything else, if not more. And we see the AI comments, but you also see people who will throw out good, cool, great, things like that. And to me, if I'm going to read into their personal brand, I'm going to say that person is lazy. They lack depth, maybe. And I don't mean to be critical, but that's all I'm left with. If I don't know that person and they're throwing out one word here or there, or they're saying something nonsensical, or this should be their lane and they don't have anything good to say, I'm going to assume that that's what that person is. So I think if you're going to really put work into something, it's the way you interact with people, not just in your own comments on your post, but in their posts as well.
Yeah. But that's one important thing you can do, Eric, is pick up the phone too. And seriously, the game changing for me is, the commenting and the liking and the posting's great, but if you don't meet them, it means nothing. And everybody I've met, like, I know you, so when I post on it, it just means something to me. And just pick up the phone and call people. It's a lost art, but I tell you, it's game changing.
I agree with that 100%. I'm admittedly not as good at that, but I 100%. I think once you meet that person, it's one phone call, you're at another level that you can't get to within the platform.
LinkedIn recently launched a Where You Appeared feature, and it tells you how people find you. And it's interesting that it breaks it down into posts, comments, search, and network recommendations. And I just looked at mine yesterday. 52% visibility because of posts, 40-something because of comments, 2% from search, 1% from network recommendations. So the criticality of being involved in your community, and like, nobody wants to know about your new service. Nobody really wants to. I'm not saying never, but most of the cases they don't want to know. They don't want to know about the features that they can find on your website. I think they want to know about your thought leadership. And also, a lot of people go to LinkedIn for Jay Williams humor. Come on, Jay, give us some scoop on that.
That's why I go.
Like, where do you get this stuff? Is this like, do you just get up in the morning thinking, hey, man, I'm just going to talk about this mindlessly? There's an art to what you do.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'm listening to Eric, and he has a very cerebral approach. And you can tell in his posts because they're very well done. And I learn something every day when I read what he has to write. And then I write something, and I don't think anybody's learning anything. But I enjoy it. I like having a little fun with it. I like being able to be completely authentic. And I think to Sam's point, I think that there's sort of a fine line. I think that you're right, Duncan, when you say that people aren't really interested in seeing all of your services every day. But I think that people end up caring about you and eventually might care about your services or your product because they like you. And so I think ultimately, if you are real, and you're, by the way, real with other people, like Eric mentioned, I think, there's an art to commenting, and that doesn't mean that it's strategic. It just means that, like, you care. There are certain people on here that I can't believe in 6 months, quite frankly, that I'm on this panel and that I'm having these conversations with all these people. And oftentimes it feels like, surreal to me because, this is not the world. I've been in the real estate development world. Nobody likes anybody in that world. In this world, people support each other. There's a camaraderie there. And on LinkedIn in particular, really refreshing. There's different personalities. People do care, but they're not going to care if it's not a two-way street. Because eventually, like Eric mentioned, you can tell the posers from the people who are real. And yeah, I get a little wacky here and there, but it's fun, and you end up learning more about people that way because you end up having, maybe it's nonsensical conversation, but it's fun. It's funny. People joke around. You see their sense of humor, and I think that's at the core of it. People like to know real people.
Yeah, I begin my day with Eric and Jay every day, and I end my day with Eric and Jay. And I feel obligated because I like them so much to see what they have to say, and I want to comment something to them. Now, full transparency, I'm not going to go to Audi. I tried it. Eric, I know you threw me a football back, but anyway, I know they're the fastest growing retailer or something. But anyway, that's why I want to be there, because I'm friendly with you, right? And then Jeff,
hey, Sam,
I'm about you too. What's that? Go ahead.
One thing I'd mention also, Sam, to your point, It does. The same thing matters to me. There was a period of time for some weird reason that I wasn't seeing any of Eric's posts. And I know when Eric posts every day, I know his schedule, I know his routine. And I actually, DM'd him and I said, I don't know why I'm not seeing your stuff. And I went and found his posts so I could look at them. But, when you end up, meeting friends on here, you care. And I knew that Eric was still posting, but I wanted to see it.
Yeah, that does happen. I was just going to add to what Eric was talking about too, is the time in terms of posting, everybody has a different process, right? But if you build out your posts, and what we try to do is we build them out in advance, because what's important, I think, more important is what Eric was saying in terms of engagement. So when we know like a post is coming, I have a post coming out every day. I know that because it's already scheduled. But the more important thing is that I'm attentive to it. When the post comes out and someone comments, I'm right there to comment back. I'm right there to respond. That to me is what the social network part of this is the most important part. The post is sort of like the primer, right? but the engagement is what is fun and exciting, and I've gone back and forth with Eric where I literally was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. We've done that so many times now that it's like a drug to me. I have to see what he's going to say when I say something back.
For the record, I feel like the further I get into a comment, so Jay and I actually had a comment removed by I don't know if it was AI or a moderator, but like that, if I'm professional in a post during the week, not so much on the weekend, when I get into somebody's comments, I feel like the further down in the comments we go, the less professional I have to be. So if you ever want to find a treasure, it's deep in a chain of comments with either Jay or Jeff.
Yeah, I try to spark you all the time to talk about pizza, and you do delight me sometimes as well. And I'm trying to get your friend Brad Champion in the conversation. He never responds to anything, but I have a little product called
yes.
right here. We got to get him involved here.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if he's on this call, but anybody here, I have no stake in this. They're not I'm so glad you did that. Yeah. That product is a game changer. Waste Light. That thing is amazing. Just look it up if you're on the call. Yeah. And I don't have no dog in that fight, but that is an amazing product.
By the way, as a little just anecdote, Brad Champion was the goalie on my soccer team for like 6 years when I was like 14.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, talking about social networking, this is a crazy story. So I meet my friend Michael. Everybody knows Michael here. And all of a sudden he goes, do you know Jay Williams? So I'm like starting to reach out for Jay Williams, talking to Jay Williams, right? Meanwhile, like a few weeks earlier, I met Eric Martindale somehow on LinkedIn, right? And so Eric's like, okay, meet my friend Brad Champion. So fast forward, I mean, I learned that Brad Champion and Jay were, like high school buddies, and they're all like friends. It's just a small world how this community works. Crazy. And it's a fantastic community. It's really crazy how that works.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a few minutes left. I think we should address the comment from Joshua Shares, who, by the way, is the only food product that made his way onto a beverage dedicated podcast. If you haven't checked out Bella Sardines, I mean, he is the real deal. Now he says, with buyers not taking appointments as readily as pre-pandemic, how are they supposed to know who they're buying from? LinkedIn is a way to let buyers know who you are and your point of view and about your business, because a meeting is only 30 minutes long and you can't build a relationship. Mm-hmm. What a deep comment.
Can I throw out a quick comment on that? One thing that I've learned with LinkedIn is there's a percentage of people who are very active in reading and they will not comment for whatever reason. They don't comment. They don't engage, and you'll run into them at a show and it's almost like they know you, and they'll say, I read everything you write. I think they're a buyer potentially. I've never had one tell me this, but a retail buyer is probably going to hide a little bit on LinkedIn, but they're there. So there are some real power brokers on LinkedIn that you don't see. They're just kind of, behind the scenes, they're very quiet. And I think, Joshua, as usual, that's a brilliant.
That happened to me at WSWA, by the way. I was just walking around, in the big room a couple weeks ago in Denver, and this guy walks up to me and he's like, I thought he wanted to get around me to go talk to somebody. He goes, "No, I want to see you." He goes, "I watch your podcast every Saturday," but he never responds or anything. So there are people, when you put your stuff out there, it's benefiting people and it's helping people. So it's not for naught. Just know that we call them power brokers, buyers. They're paying attention for sure.
Yeah. It does feel a bit like 2008, 2009 Twitter era when people would walk up to you at a conference and call you by your Twitter handle. "Hey, how's it going at Firebelly?"
That's funny.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, when Sam came up and gave me a hug at BevNet, he wouldn't let go of me. We almost had to get the authorities involved, but it was so great because it was almost like we knew each other, and
yeah.
It was so nice. And there aren't very many platforms that allow for that type of interaction. It's really refreshing.
I'd like to know from Joshua what the pairing is for sardines in terms of beverage pairing. What's the right beverage pairing for a tin of sardines?
I would say Freebird water.
That's what
I agree. I vote yes for Freebird.
He says Vino Verde and bubbly, not still.
Nice.
He's on it. He may be muted, but he's very active here.
All right, cool.
Hey, everyone, we got time for if anyone has a question, we got time for one more question. I think there was one earlier, right? Let's see here. Mr. Christopher Samuel is in the house, and his comment was a couple of trends from his old world soy beverages: health as a lifestyle and a conscious consumer, authenticity being demonstrated. Like Jeff said, how cool is the can in your hand? In North America and Asia Pac are driving growth, and APAC, India-based tourism on veganism, lactose-free tourism, and rising disposable income, all things that we're seeing in North America too. Thank you, Christopher. Any panelist comments on that? Nick, Christopher, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you could take the panelist comments first. I was going to say something on LinkedIn, please. Okay, I'll just take the LinkedIn comment. Having made US Soy the #1 LinkedIn channel on soy, specifically targeting food, bev, and retail supply chain folks around the world. My experience was it takes the offline with the online, and a lot of folks I find it's helpful to remind whether the content producer on the marketing side or when you're helping the CEOs, which one's done with their LinkedIn channel, is just remind ourselves of who is this conversation or content helping. Who is this helping? Mm-hmm. And I find that helpful to me too on any given day, even though I'm a comms expert. And the other piece is the offline with the online. It's really helpful to I think we found it really helpful to help for our sales and technical team to say, try to build the relationship. When they see you reach out to them to come to the event in person, or you're reaching out on LinkedIn, they already know you're calling for US soy. They know what you've got to offer. Maybe you've got some technical data. Maybe you've got a new calculator of Brazil versus US or dry peas versus, so US soy or whatever. They know that, but try to find something in common. And I find that so much more, especially in the agency world, but also in in-house comms teams, that people are forgetting how to build a relationship. So I loved what Sam said of just pick up the phone. It's a great reminder. But that focus on what do we have in common. I learned Robert knows to play cricket. So maybe if we bump into Robert one day, we'll play cricket. But I'm going to remember Robert for cricket. And then I'll remember his focus on the P&L.
Chris. I also keep wickets.
Ooh,
excellent. So you're behind, I'm batting, and we'll see if Duncan can bowl 6 straight balls.
I gotta talk to him about Bradenton, for God's sakes. I need to figure out the whole thing there. So Robert, let's make sure we connect. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's strange that we had this whole conversation and nobody mentioned pickleball the whole time.
1 hour pickleball free hour.
I mean, it is interesting. Christopher does come to Toronto a lot. So, I mean, I'll volunteer to be the 13th player on the team if you put a team together. And with the people that drop out, I'll usually end up being number 7. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining. What a great
Thank you guys.
Sorry for some of the technical problems. We'll get them off next time. Thank you to Jay Williams, founder of Freebird, Eric Martindale, founder of Elite Commerce Group, Sam Anderson, Mr. Bev Man himself, founder of BevAssets, Jeff Litcofsky. I remain your host and man in social media, Duncan Olney from Firebelly Marketing. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Firebelly Social Show, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.